Shio, Ayoldaza. Welcome to the Red Road East. I'm your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. The Red Road East is an indigenous TV program dedicated to preserving the history, legacy, and culture of Native Americans east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. Today, we're going to take a trip to the Thunderbird's annual Queen's Farm Powwow. And later, we'll be joined in studio by one of our Taino brothers who is a powerful spiritual leader and activist. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Good to see you. Yeah, good. This is Two Feathers. He teaches Cherokee language.
Talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, now do this. Remain standing for one more minute. We're going to ask my good friend from the Powwow people from Oklahoma, Mr. Ralph. And he said that he would honor us with a prayer before we start our festivities today. Ralph?
Thank you, Louis. I want to thank the committee for allowing me to give the invocation for this celebration here today. Before I do that, I would like to introduce myself. I was born in the state of Oklahoma to the Kiowa Nation, and in 1959, I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I lived among the Pueblos for 53 years. And my son, who works in the Washington, D.C. area, invited me to move away from Albuquerque, and I now reside in the Washington, D.C. area. I want to say that it is always an honor and a privilege to be asked to call upon our Creator before we begin anything as significant as this festivity here. I want to thank the Queen's Farm Powwow for allowing me to recognize and acknowledge our culture. You know, I travel quite a bit to powwows, and every now and then I wonder about the audience. I wonder about the non-Indians that are watching these powwows. And I don't know why, but I think about the first time I went to the Mardi Gras in New Orleans. I did not know what was going on. I wondered why people dressed up in outrageous costumes and dancing in the streets, and I did not know nothing about that. And I wonder if many people that come to these Native American powwows, if they don't have preconceived ideas about what they learned about Indians through history books. But regardless of what you learn, what your experience here today, I want to tell you that we were all created by the same God. He put us here, He put us on this earth to learn to unite and live in harmony. And with that, I want to call upon the Great Spirit's blessings on this day today.
The Thunderbird's power.
Okay, welcome back. I'm your host, Fierce Truth Seeker, and we are joined with our guest and spiritual brother from the Taino community, my good friend, Louis Ramos.
How you doing, sir?
Good,
All right, brother.
good. How are you?
Very good. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me into your show.
Likewise. So I guess we could start with your training as a healer.
Wow. When I was a little boy, actually a baby, I had an issue with a lot of crying. They said I was colicky and stuff. So my great-grandmother, who came to this country, it was the late 1950s, you know, like the first Puerto Ricans that came to the country, U.S. She helped raise me, and she healed me in a way. That's what I hear from the story. Very traditional woman, and I kind of caught a lot of her insights in that different worldview, the spiritual worldview. She used to keep altars in the home. Very syncretic, you know, there was a lot of Catholic symbols as well as earth-based symbols. She died when I was 11, so I really wasn't able to sit with her.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, no problem, you know.
Yeah.
So years later, I was able to go into a seminary to learn to be a priest.
Wow.
I became a Franciscan brother, and I was able to visit Crow Nation. And there was some aspirations of being a pastor at a church there in Crow Agency. I became friends with a priest there. And I was able to, for the very first time, enter a whole different world that reminded me of my great-grandmother. That whole worldview, the spirit, the numinous, and what happened was, it was a sweat lodge ceremony in the Crow tradition. And sweat lodges, you know, it can be very intense.
Yeah.
You know, very earth-based. You know, you're literally, the mud is on your face, you know, as you go through the rounds. And instantly I thought of my great-grandma. I was like, wow. I know she didn't practice that ceremony, but it felt so familiar, you know. This is something that's not involved in the church. This is something not involved in regular society. I never read about this in school, but it spoke to me. And I'm like, it's like my eyes were open.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, I went through a deep experience where I became real disoriented. You know, the very first time I couldn't finish the ceremony. I got very disoriented. And I remember leaving the lodge, like totally weak. Like I had no strength. It just barely able to, you know. And I remember telling myself, I gotta snap back into this, back into reality. And then I just got this feeling like, you know what, let me just enjoy this. You know, I felt so relaxed, you know. And as I got my senses back, I realized this is what I need to do. So before I left there, I was able to go back to another ceremony, you know, and he allowed me to be like the firekeeper, just to watch the fire.
Were you a teenager at this time?
No, I was in my late 20s.
Okay.
And just looking at the sky, you know, Montana's big sky, you know, looking at all these clouds and looking at the lodge, looking at the fire. I'm like, man, this is the way it used to be, right?
Yeah.
Right, our ancestors.
Exactly.
It's just I want to lead this. I want to be part of this, you know? And then I remember going back home after that, and I said to myself, I can't be a priest, you know? This is not my love.
Okay.
My love is that lodge, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember I did something crazy. I was able to live for 1 year in Wisconsin during one of my training year as a brother, and we had a lot of land. So believe it or not, you know, my ignorance, I built a lodge in my memory. I got the frame, you know, the hole, I got the stones, and I actually started inviting some of my brothers, hey, come check this out. And one of the brothers was really impressed.
Okay.
He's like, man, this is like, you know, I can't believe you did this, you know?
Wow.
Short time later, it got around, you know? So there was a priest that knew about the Crow culture, and he was impressed. But then he asked me, he said, so who taught you this? I said, well, I hate to, you know, bust your bubble, but you have to be taught.
Wow.
This tradition, you just can't make it up. 2 years later, I went back to Crow on my own.
Okay.
After I left the friary, the brotherhood. And I spoke to my friends there, and I said, listen, I really feel bad. It was like a confession. This is what I did. So I remember one of my friends, who was a priest too, he's a good friend now, he says, oh, you have to talk to my adoptive father.